Now, there are a lot of quarterbacks in the league that have a lot to prove this season, or they might be out the door. Justin Herbert. But there's a lot of other quarterbacks that got things to prove, like Kyler Murray as well. You know what I'm saying? CJ Stroud for sure. And whoever's going to be starting for the Dolphins this year, honestly, we have no clue. But let's go ahead and get straight into the video because I'm interested to see who's going to be on the chopping block. Because for once in my lifetime, it's not the Bears.
There are expectations for every NFL player entering each year, and quarterbacks are no different. We head into each year expecting nothing but the best from guys like Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen, Joe Burrow, and Lamar Jackson, to name a few, and for good reason.
Yep.
Those four players are franchise cornerstones and are amongst the best quarterbacks in today's era. But not every quarterback has the success those guys have had throughout their careers.
Crazy too, 5,000.
In today's video, we're going to break down the quarterbacks that are under the most pressure entering the 2026 season. Some of these guys' jobs will be on the line entering 2026, while others are in a situation where they need to perform so that they can be next in line to get a contract worth north of $100 or maybe $200 million. And there is a lot to break down in today's video, and if you could like the video before we start, a football will appear when you do and would be very much appreciated.
Let's get it then.
Preface out of the way.
Yeah.
Let's begin.
Yeah. Let's go into it. Who got first?
Starting today's video with Texans quarterback CJ Stroud. CJ Stroud's career path at this point is at a crossroads because we're at a point where things do not look the best relative to the player he is expected to be for this franchise. And we're at a point where Stroud has not only fell down the quarterback rankings compared to where he was a few years ago, but you have to question what his future looks like in Houston.
Now we're going to be honest and we're going to be transparent. His O-line was not the best. His wide receiver Tank Dell did get hurt. It's just some things going over there in the Houston land, Texas land that's not ideal. But I still do believe in CJ Stroud. Now, Ohio State quarterbacks do not have a good history of panning out. It's just kind of one of those boogeyman things. For all the good receivers they build up, their quarterbacks are shit when they get to the NFL. But I still personally believe in CJ Stroud. Bryce Young and CJ Stroud are two quarterbacks I still personally believe in. And if they don't work out the team right now, they get traded, they're going to have a lot of success. That's just me personally, though. If they switch places, they might even have success.
730 days ago, or 2 years ago, the Texans' future looked incredibly bright. They were coming off of a year in which they drafted the offensive and defensive rookie of the year in CJ Stroud and Will Anderson, and also clearly had a great head coach too in DeMeco Ryans. Sure, they lost in the divisional round of the playoffs to the Ravens, but I would personally argue that's one of the best teams over the past 10 years to not win a Super Bowl.
Definitely.
Again, it was in CJ Stroud's rookie year and the first year under DeMeco Ryans, so they could have lost that game 65-0, and I wouldn't have cared because of how much they already overachieved in that year. I was focused on how this team would improve in the following years and how CJ Stroud would progress as he looked to be a challenger to the Mahomes, Allens, Lamars, and Burrows atop the conference. But that really never happened. All of his numbers regressed in 2024, and the Texans did not look good for most of the year, and I personally think the 32-12 win over the Chargers in the wildcard round saved a lot of face for how their season actually played out.
It really did.
It was more or less fine because they won a playoff game by 20 points, and a lot of the criticism was kind of glossed over, at least pertaining to CJ Stroud. It was only reaffirmed when they fired former offensive coordinator Bobby Slowick nearly a week after the divisional round loss to Kansas City. Now, with the 2025 Texans and ultimately CJ Stroud, the one thing he will be remembered for most from this year is the 4-interception playoff game against New England, or more specifically, the 4-interception first half.
Right.
And rightfully so.
That was bad.
That was an absolute stinker of a game.
That was really bad.
Stroud, and I'm not justifying it or saying.
But in CJ's defense, he was running for his life. He did not have a lot of help on the offensive side of things. And as bad as the Patriots were in that Super Bowl, their defense was actually pretty solid leading up into the Super Bowl. You know what I'm saying? So in the AFC, at least, they were the boogeyman. Now, I don't know what happened when they faced the NFC Giants, but the AFC, they were the boogeyman. They were putting belts to ass on a lot of teams. So you got to give them some leeway with that one.
Ended up in the second half or any of that, but what I will say about the 2025 Texans is this was an incredibly difficult situation for any quarterback to succeed in, not just CJ Stroud. There were certainly moments from Stroud throughout the 2025 regular season that made you think he can be the guy long term, but when you have 9 offensive linemen take 280 or more snaps and have the 29th ranked offense in the league in yards per carry, along with a first-time play caller who at times was in way over his head, think the Week 2 Bucs game on Monday night way back in September, for example, then your quarterback is going to be at a disadvantage.
That's true. That's true.
With how CJ Stroud's career started out, especially especially as hot as it did, the expectations at times were incredibly high. Some could even argue too high, but with where we are today, there's still a lot of uncertainty about the CJ Stroud situation and whether or not he is the long-term guy in Houston.
I personally think he is, and he can be.
CJ Stroud, and in fairness to Texans fans, that he's had to deal with a lot more from a situation standpoint than the media wants to bring up over the past 2 years. Now, personally, would I pay him at the moment if I were GM Nick Caserio and in some ways tie my job to him for the next few years?
No.
No, I wouldn't. And I think due in large part to the uncertainty around Stroud's future, he is under a tremendous amount of pressure entering 2026.
He definitely is. He needs to
before
make
we
it.
continue opening
This is definitely needs to make it or break a year for CJ Stroud, because if he doesn't make it, he's gonna break it literally. Because I think this is the third year it's his fourth year in the league. He's going on his fourth year. So after this, he's gonna have to make a decision on we want to franchise tag him, which probably not gonna happen, or we want to trade him, or what's gonna happen. I honestly feel like he's a serviceable quarterback, but I feel like a lot of other quarterbacks in the league, is he the guy that's gonna end up getting you to the Super Bowl? No, and that's not. That's not any knocks on him, but there's a lot of QBs I don't think are going to make the Super Bowl. Do I think Bryce Young's going to make the Super Bowl? No. Do I think he's a good quarterback still? Yeah. Speaking of the quarterbacks that are not making it to the Super Bowl, Tyler Shough. I'll be honest on Tyler Shough. I thought that my boy Spencer Rattler was going to beat him out. Very surprised that he did not. But I don't think this is a make or break a year for Tyler Shough. Like, this is the second year in the league. I think he's good.
This thing that I will preface the Tyler Shough portion of the video with, I like the tools Tyler Shough has, and I think that he will be the Saints' long-term quarterback for at least the next 2 seasons. I don't think that 2025 was an outlier year for him. I think the tools that he showed as a rookie and the baseline of level of quarterback play that he showed as a rookie will be enough for him to not only keep his job in 2026, but 2027 for that matter too. So I did want to preface that before we dive into why Tyler Shough is in today's video, and the biggest reason that Tyler Shough is in today's video is, of course, age. Shough will be 27 years old at the end of September, and what is going to be unfortunate for Shough if he has a big injury early in the 2026 season, or if he does not play as well as he did in 2026 compared to what he did in 2025, is the 2027 draft class is expected to be loaded. Now, as we know, there's a lot that can change over the course of a college football season, and the 2027 quarterback class may not be as good as what we expect to be heading into the 2026 season. But the word on the street now is that this class is going to be a generational class.
Now, let's be honest about this generational class. You got Julian saying he's propped up by all the amazing receivers they have at OSU. He's not that good of a quarterback. He's average. Arch Manning has played pretty average. He hasn't played like a number 1 pick throughout any of his games. Dante Moore is pretty good, but we all know the stigma about Oregon quarterbacks. It's like the stigma about Ohio State quarterbacks. They're never panning out into the NFL. They never do. Look at Dylan Gabriel. Look at anybody. Like, Bo Nix is panning out, but that's the only guy you can name in how long? Then you got Jaden Mavea. He's all right. Lawrence Sellers, I feel like, has a lot of upside. CJ Carr, he's all right. These are not generational talents. We got to stop throwing the word generational around so damn easy, because none of these quarterbacks are generational. If Julian Sain was generational, he would have won a national championship with Ohio State. If Arch Manning was generational, he would have won an SEC with Texas. If Dante Moore was generational, he wouldn't have got whooped like that with Oregon. Let's just be honest about the situation here.
And I generally refrain from using the word generational on the channel because I think that word is insanely loaded. I think that it is a very loud word, but I do think it is applicable for the 2027 draft class.
No, it's not.
So if Tyler Shough does not perform to the level that he did last year in 2026, then we're talking about a player that would be going on 28 years old with a lot of uncertainty at the quarterback position.
That's true, but I just don't see a situation where the Saints draft a quarterback next year. Unless they're absolutely a bonfire, like shit, dog shit, I do not see a reason for the Saints to go ahead and draft a quarterback. Now, that's, compared to other quarterbacks that are in the league that are on the hot seat, I don't just see Tyler Shough being the main guy you need to watch out for on the hot seat. Now, Michael Penix Jr., that's definitely someone that's on the hot seat because of his injury history. That's just how it is. If he didn't have his injury history, we'd be more high on him, but he's got a lot of injuries.
It's Michael Penix / Tua Tagovailoa. Now, entering 2026, I have a lot of questions around Michael Penix. I would imagine most of us do. And through the first 2 years of his career, when we've seen Penix play, obviously he was not going to play much during his rookie season because the Falcons signed Kirk Cousins to a 4-year, $180 million contract. So you kind of have to toss most of that rookie year out of the way. But even when we saw Michael Penix play towards the end of his rookie year and what we saw from him in 2025, he was a much different player from his time at Washington to his time with the Falcons. And there's already a lot of questions around Penix to begin with, but there's a lot of questions, at least to me, around the future of the Atlanta Falcons. I don't particularly like what they have at the receiver position. I was not a big fan of Zachariah Branch in the pre-draft process. I hope I'm proven wrong in that.
I don't know why you don't like Zachariah Branch. Not his fault that he was limited on the route tree at Georgia and at USC. Let's start there. Not his fault. They got Drake London, who's also a very good receiver. One of the best receivers in the NFC South, if not the best receiver in NFC South now with Mike Evans gone. Then you also have Kyle Pitts, very great tight end, generational tight end. Yeah, he's just not getting utilized the right way, but still a very good tight end. Then you also have Bijan Robinson in the backfield, and you don't like the weapons. What the hell is this guy talking about? Well, who is this guy? Who is this guy? What is he talking about? He doesn't know what the hell he's talking about.
I never want to sit here and take a victory lap on a prospect that I was lower than and say, I told you so. That's not the goal, at least from myself as an analyst. But outside of Drake London, I have a lot of questions with this receiving core, and there are long-term questions at the tackle position. Jake Matthews was a first-round pick all the way back in 2014. They had Caleb McGarry retire this offseason and replaced him with Jawan Taylor. Obviously, we don't know if Jawan Taylor is going to be the long-term franchise right tackle, so post-2026 season, there's a lot of questions with this team, both at the wide receiver 2 position and not one, but both tackles. And when you look at Michael Penix and Tua Tagovailoa, neither player is particularly mobile, and that's kind of a big deal relative to the...
I mean, they're mobile enough. They're more mobile than Jared Goff. You know what I'm saying? They're pretty mobile. I mean, what do you want? You want to be like Lamar Jackson? He's mobile enough to get in and out the pocket. Tua is mobile enough to get in and out the pocket. They do the damn job. All really, as a quarterback, you're not supposed to be running all over the damn place any fucking way. You're supposed to be delivering that rock. So he's good enough to get the job done. You know what I'm saying? I personally feel like Tua might end up starting just because Michael is going to be hurt still. But I do feel like he has a good chance of making it happen.
Deal worth the veteran minimum. Now, Kyler Murray's highlights are very fun and he can be an electric player with the football in his hands, but very quietly, he's played a full season just once over the past 5 years, and that was in 2024 when he finished the year with over 3,800 passing yards, 21 passing touchdowns, and 11 interceptions. He also had over 500 yards rushing, as well as 5 rushing touchdowns, and while the numbers that year weren't bad, they certainly weren't elite or close to being elite by any means.
Right.
And why Kyler Murray is under a lot of pressure heading into 2026 is he is in one of the best situations in all of football for any quarterback to be in. He has a good head coach in Kevin O'Connell.
That's not the Bears.
One of, if not the best trios of receivers in all of football, and Justin Jefferson, Jordan Addison, and the newly acquired Jawan Jennings. And he also has a really good offensive line when healthy. This is undoubtedly the best supporting cast of his career, as it would be most quarterbacks' careers as well.
No, definitely. He does have one of the best situations out of any traded quarterback or freshly signed quarterback or any quarterbacks on his list so far. I personally believe in Kyler Murray. People are low on Kyler Murray for whatever reason. The Cardinals sucked year after year after year. They didn't have shit on offense for real. They barely had something on defense. Let's not act like they were just world breakers, okay? They were barely scraping by in the NFC West, which is loaded. So I personally feel like K1's going to have a good season. He's going to play better than Jared Goff. I'm willing to bet money on that one. He's going to play way better than Jared Goff and Jordan Love for a fact. So I feel like K1 is going to have a good season. I feel like he's set up to win. Great defense, good offense, good quarterback coach, good head coach. I don't see a reason why he wouldn't succeed. He's definitely on the hot seat, but I feel like K1's got this in the bag. If you disagree, let me know.